Have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? When I was trying to get this podcast off the ground, I had a lot of questions. How do I record an episode? How do I get my show into all the apps people like to listen? How do I make money from my podcast? Well, the answer to every one of these questions is really simple. Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. Best of all, it's 100% free and ridiculously easy to use. And now, Anchor can match you with great sponsors who want to advertise on your podcast. That means you can get paid to podcast right away. In fact, that's what I'm doing right now by reading this ad. When I started using Anchor to do my podcast, it was so extremely easy that I haven't even bothered to look for another app to use. I love this app. It's the only one I deal with, the only one I even recommend, period. I recommend you get on there ASAP. If you want to start a podcast, this is definitely the place to go. It's easy. You can drive around and record. You can sit in your basement and record. You can do it anywhere. It's fantastic. So if you've always wanted to start a podcast, make money doing it, go to anchor.fm/start, anchor.fm/start to join me and the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast. What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's Adam Rich from the Really Rich Podcast. And I know it's been a while, so I'm sorry. I apologize for that. I took a little vacation, so to speak. Didn't go anywhere, but I definitely took a little vacation, a little time away. And I apologize. If anyone was, searching for any new episodes, but I am back, and I wanted to talk about capitalizing on opportunities. And this is important because I've had time to think. Being off, I've actually had time to think about opportunities, like what this time, with COVID, with me personally, I was off work for a little while. I'm going back to the same company that I've been with for a while, but things have kind of changed, obviously, with the coronavirus thing going around, and it's just a weird time in our history. Obviously, anyone that's been alive more than 15 years really can kind of understand that and feel that. But the point is, it gave me some time to think really about opportunities, unexpected things will happen in our lives all the time, like, I don't know, the loss of friends, the gaining of friends, the experiencing something new for the very first time, different events that you might experience. This thing, for instance, the coronavirus stuff, the COVID, I mean, that's never happened in my life where almost all businesses around the country were shutting down or trying to refigure out how do we survive, like, around each other. Do we have to stay away from each other forever? Do we, how close can we be? Wear a mask, not to wear a mask? You see a lot of this divide and once again, I hate to say I told you so, but it's the media. The media constantly creates this mess where people are bad. Like, think about how stupid this is. Listen, if we're being told to wear a mask because it will protect us, then okay, everyone, was out there wearing masks. But then it got to a point where people are like, no, I want my freedom. I don't have to wear a mask. And look, I understand both sides. Like, I never try to just pick one political side. I try to understand everyone's point of view. I try to understand where everybody's coming from. I have certain views that I guess will align more with a certain political party, but then I also have other views where I find that the majority of people in that political party don't agree with what I'm saying. So this is why I hate labels. The only label that I don't mind is when somebody says I'm a Christian. I don't mind that label, for various reasons. But once again, when you label yourself in that way, like if I say I'm a Christian, then anybody who's an atheist is going to be like, geez, this guy, he's gonna and I don't want to force any kind of belief on somebody. I try to understand everybody's perspective. If you're an atheist, I'm sure you have a very good reason for it. If you're a Christian, if you're Jewish, if you're Muslim, I'm sure we all have very good reasons for believing what we believe. So I'm not trying to knock anyone for believing anything different than me. I don't try to feel like I'm better than you. I don't try to feel like I'm smarter than you. I don't feel like I'm better as a person. None of that stuff. I just try to understand. Why do you believe what you believe? Kids believe in Santa Claus. Why do they believe that? I don't think they're stupid. It's because, society kind of teaches that, we teach our kids that Santa Claus, it's kind of a tradition especially in America. But once they reach a certain age, you tell them, or somebody tells them, and they learn. I mean, their brains develop, they get smarter, they realize, hey, maybe the idea of a very overweight old man fitting down a very narrow chimney is probably not a true story. So eventually they start understanding the science behind how a person of a certain size can fit through a chimney. And then if you want to say magic, then you have to explain how Santa Claus has magic. And it's a mess. So the point that I'm getting at is, I don't get mad that a kid feels like there's that a kid has different beliefs, and we should apply the same doggone thing to adults. It's okay if you don't agree with what I'm saying. Now, when you start making fun of people and you start, laughing at their beliefs, like, especially if you don't even know for a fact that their belief is wrong, you just disagree, then that's, it's not a good thing to do. And it doesn't make you any better or smarter. Like, I don't know how like, somebody laughing at another human being, I don't know who you think that makes you cool to, laughing at somebody. Especially if it's something that somebody can't help. Now, if like a buddy of mine says, hey, I'm going to try to, jet ski over this volcano and then falls in, well, yeah, I'm not going to laugh, but at the same time, it's like, dude, you did that to yourself. But if there's some kind of an illness or a disability, or somebody believes something of a certain, because of their history, their background, their the way they grew up, I don't know, whatever, it's not cool, it's not funny to laugh at somebody for their beliefs. But this kind of all ties into where I was going with the whole capitalizing on opportunities. When we see unexpected things come up from anybody, you can take one of two approaches. A lot of times, and people that know the show know what I talk about a lot. I talk a lot about positivity and negativity, and this, I think, is huge when it comes to tying in with capitalizing on opportunities. See, a lot of people, when COVID hit, nobody really knew what to expect. Nobody knew how long it was going to be around for. Nobody knew what the lasting effects would be. Nobody knew how deadly it was. There was a lot of unknowns when it first, when it first hit the world the way it did. But that being said, it altered the stock market. It altered people's jobs, their livelihoods. Some people are not even going back to work. Some people have gotten laid off and they're not even getting called back to their jobs. Other people had to stay at their jobs. Some people never got a day off during all this. Some people were basically considered essential workers right from the rip. And so, this is the reason why I'm saying, like, with COVID, it was a very opportunistic time, and here's why. Depending on which way, where your life went from this. Like, say you got to stay at work. Well, maybe it didn't really open up any opportunities for you or change your way of life or anything if you stayed working, if you never had a day off, if you were an essential worker or whatever. But it also gives you the opportunity to reflect on just how valuable you are, especially to a certain company. Now, that company may not show you how valuable you are. They may be awful at showing you how valuable you are to your company. However, that doesn't change the fact that you are valuable, because if you don't keep showing up to work, that means that job can't get done, which means you essentially, there's a reason they call it essential, you are essentially the important reason that company is able to stay afloat. Now, there's companies, let's be honest, once all this stuff washes away and everything, life gets kind of back to normal, if it does, depending on what normal is, you're going to see there's going to be a litany of businesses that are done, that are done for. Like, for instance, around where I live, I don't know if Panera, the food chain or whatever, I don't know if Panera is going out of business as a whole, but almost every Panera around me is out of business now. They've shut down or they're about to shut down in the next week or two. And Panera is a big chain, and it's got in my opinion, now listen, Panera doesn't sponsor me, so what you're about to hear is just me talking. This is not an advertisement for them, but I like Panera. I think they have good, clean food. It's good for whether you're a vegan or not. If you're just trying to eat healthy, it's a good place for that. And it's relatively quick for how, it's like a fast food chain of healthy food. So I dig it, but at the same time, I know I'm not everybody. Some people hate it, I'm sure. But that being said, it was one of these businesses that I could see like not going out of business. I mean, as long as they keep changing their menu or keep with the times or whatever, I could see them being open forever. Like as long as McDonald's at least. But yet here we are in my neighborhood at least, or all like I've gone to several Paneras. There's 3 that I know of in my kind of immediate metropolitan area outside of Detroit. One in Westland, one in Canton, and one in Plymouth. They're all done. They're all either out of business or they're about to be out of business, but they're shutting down is the point. So I don't know if all of Panera is going out of business or not. I hope not, but I mean, it is what it is. But it reminds me though, that if you are an essential employee, if you never got to take if you never got any time off for COVID, if you just had to wash your hands, wear face masks, take all these extra safety precautions to make sure you don't have a fever and that you're not going into work and taking it to somebody else, then you need to know whether your company ever tells you or not, you need to know within yourself, within your own heart, that you are a very valuable person to that company. And like I said, they may never tell you that. All right. They may look at you like you're just some worker forever, which shows horrible leadership on their part. But that doesn't change the fact that you clearly are an important person. If you were considered essential and you had to keep going to work, a lot of people I know complained about that, going back to like having to stay at work. I know like when this first hit, I didn't know how bad it was, like how deadly everything was and how many people were dying and stuff. Like I didn't know right away, obviously. And so my wife didn't want me really going to work anyway, just in case I caught it and brought it home, because we have a 1-year-old daughter, 1.5 years old. So, as a new mom and me being a new dad, we didn't know what kind of safety concerns there were with all this stuff. So I didn't really know if I should go back to work or not, or if I should take the time off. And in Michigan, at least, they were allowing you to stay home from work, collect unemployment, and they were even giving you an extra $600 on top every week. So that's a great, it's very beneficial to families. I mean, I'm very grateful to have that opportunity. And it makes you also reflect, because we've never seen something like this happen, all right? I've been alive long enough to see Y2K, to see Desert Storm back in the early 90s. Now, granted, I was a child. I think in 92, I was 9. So, I mean, I was just a kid, so I don't remember none of that, really. But I'm just saying, there has always been somewhat global crises every 5 to 10 years, give or take. But nothing has, in my lifetime, has ever shut down the country and the economy the way this did. I mean, my stocks dropped a lot, the stock market as a whole. But here's another thing, and that actually reminds me, before I forget, this is where I go with another thing about opportunities, is that when you see these catastrophes hit, now it's not good. You don't root for them. I don't want to see anyone get hurt, killed, or anything like that. But when they do happen, it's good to prepare, like to be mentally and physically prepared for the worst. Like I didn't know what was going to happen. I tried to load up on, like everyone else, I tried to load up on toilet paper and paper towels and tissues and things like that, or whatever, masks and all that, and try to keep me and my family as safe as possible. But with that, I also, tax returns just came back, right? So I had this extra little nugget of money from the tax returns. Then the stock market tanked hard. And so I took a good portion of my money and I put it into the stock market, because I know that these things I've watched this happen and this play out many times. And I suggest that you guys do the same. Now, be careful. I'm not just telling you go spend your money just to do it. Be knowledgeable. I mean, do your research, figure out if you are going to get into the stock market or any kind of investments or gambling or anything like that. Always be smart and do your due diligence, your research, all that stuff to figure out if you think it's a smart call, because I'm not telling you just throw money into the stock market and hope for the best. No one should ever do that. That's a very dumb idea. I've never done it quite like that, but I have put my money into stocks that I wasn't very familiar with, and it's burned me. So you don't want that. However, That was a while ago. Now that I've seen when you see global catastrophes happen, like say somebody announces there's going to be a war tomorrow. Well, that could take a dip in the stock market. When Y2K happened, a dip in the stock market. When 9/11 happened, a dip in the stock market. But these things usually nothing has been permanent enough to completely keep the stock market down. Like for instance, before COVID hit, in America, at least, the economy was booming. It was arguably the best it's ever been, if not it's right there in the top 2 or 3 of moments in history. But I'm pretty sure it was on record to be the best time as far as, value and money and the economy as a whole. I believe it was the best time in human history. However, COVID hit. It sunk everything pretty damn good, but not like eliminating, not like depression type. So, or the Great Depression, if you guys know what I mean, not people being depressed. But anyway, when this happened, I knew that there were certain stocks that took a hard dip. And what I did is I watched, like, what was it like over the last year? What was it like over the last 3 years? Especially, and this is another thing, every election, I'm just giving you a heads up right now, every election, the stock market after the election usually skyrockets. I believe every time, no matter who the president is, but don't quote me on that because I'm not 100%. I just I just remember when Obama got elected, there were some good things in the stock market. When Trump got elected, I've noticed in my 401k, super spike. It went up big time. So I'm just saying, keep that in mind for the next election, regardless if Trump gets reelected or if it's Biden, or I know Kanye just dropped out of the race. I'm sure he had a good shot. But anyway, regardless, just keep that in mind because the stock market may be low going into the election. But look, within that next month after the election, between November and December, possibly up until January, the stock market should go back up. So what I'm saying is, if you notice that the stock market's down, if you like certain stocks, if you feel like you have a good amount of chunk of money to play, use that as an opportunity. Anytime there's a catastrophe or some kind of a disaster, usually things will drop a little bit. So what I'm trying to say is, anything that hits, I'm not saying you should root for disasters. I'm not saying COVID was a great thing. Obviously, it wasn't. It was horrible. But you should always be prepared for when bad things do happen, because it's not like from here on out, everything's going to be good forever. I mean, there's going to be bad moments again. So all I'm trying to say is, use that knowledge to prepare yourself, because when things get bad, that's a good time to capitalize on that opportunity. The stock market went down. I put some money into it. Slowly over these last few months, it's been going up, and then kind of, up and down. The stock market does that every day. It goes up, down, all that stuff. But as a whole, I have made a little bit of change because of playing that, because of acknowledging the fact that when bad things happen, there's always something positive that comes with it. Call back to most of my episodes. When I talk about positivity and negativity, usually the thing that I try to reference, and this, I think it still applies, it always does, it always has, and it always will, is that every single event that happens in your life, on earth, with everything, every time something happens, good or bad, two things end up happening at once. You choose how you look at it. Either there's always something positive and always something negative with everything that happens. You buy a new car, that's a positive. You got a brand new car, it's nice, you probably like it. The negative, now you got a car payment, you got a insurance payment. It's probably more expensive than the last one. Usually we don't downgrade. Sometimes we do. A lot of times smart people will do that when they want to have more spending cash or more money to save to put into something. They'll downgrade, which is a smart move. Because unless you desperately need it, it's a good thing to cut your costs, cut your expenses, and then use that money to go somewhere else. More capitalizing on opportunities, right? That's perfect. So that being said, guys, I'm just saying, anything that happens, there's always a positive and always a negative with everything. That applies to all things, all right? It's your job to search for the positive if something bad is happening to you. Because some people get laid off. Well, maybe it's your time to find a better job. There's a chance that you could have been on your way to work one day and something tragic happened to you and on the car ride in. But because you don't have that job now you're not going to be driving in that direction. And listen, we'll never know. So I understand that this is totally hypothetical, but you don't know. And that's the key. That's the point. There's always something good. If you get fired from that job unless you absolutely loved that job, if you get fired from that job, it gives you the opportunity to find what you really truly love as a passion, because a lot of us get stuck into a job that we do not like, that we don't really care about. We either did it for the money, did it for the insurance, did it for the benefits, did it, I remember when I started my job at this place that I'm at now, my primary goal was just to get insurance because I was young. I was 21. I needed to have some kind of a job that paid decent and had insurance. I knew nothing about the field I was getting into. I just needed a job that would cover insurance for me. And this one seemed to work. As time went on, things got better, got more money, got more seniority, got more vacation time, got more this, got more that. And then, you find you don't want to leave after a while. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes it gets to the point where you absolutely despise your job and you feel like you're stuck. But then you get fired and then it's like, man, what am I going to do now? I don't have no money. I don't have this. I don't have this. It's a great time for you to then zero in on what you truly, truly love doing and try to find a way to monetize that. And that doesn't mean it's going to happen overnight. I know many friends of mine that are like, man, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to get out of this job, and I'm going to do it. Yeah, good luck, man. It ain't going to happen overnight. And a lot of people think it will. A lot of people think, man, if I just invest my time or energy into this, it's going to really pop for me. And it will probably in the long run, but you have to be prepared to grind it out during the rough times. Like, I've been doing this podcast for 1.5 to 2 years now, and it's not completely paying my bills. Now I am making a little bit. I'm making more than I did when I started, but I'm not at that point where it's like replacing my last career to the point where I can like pay all my bills and live happy and comfortably and it's booming and all that stuff. That hasn't happened yet, which is fine. I'm still working at it. But you have to understand that you have to also apply some patience. So lastly, I just want to say, it's just find ways to capitalize on opportunities. Whether something great happens, if you get a promotion, you get into a new relationship that you're really happy about, if you meet a new friend that you really like, if you buy a new car that you really like, understand that these are opportunities when they come your way and try to capitalize on them. You get a new car, use that as an opportunity to enjoy every second you can, because eventually that car is going to just be another car to you. Every new car I've ever had, I've loved. And then after a while, it's just like, oh yeah, this car again. You know what I mean? Like, it's no matter how long you've had something, we tend to overlook the importance of that thing after we've had it for a long time. It's you get complacent with something. And all I'm trying to tell you is don't do that. Any situation that arises, good or bad for you, try to find the opportunity in it. When COVID hit and I was off work for a while, it gave me time to really zero in on my podcast and zero in on, now I've been involved in like buying and trading, sports cards and things, which has been opportunistic for me as well. And it's really let me, and I used to love it when I was a kid. I still love it right now, but it's just, when you get older and you have bills and you have family and stuff, it's harder to just throw some money into these sports cards, especially knowing that they're an investment. You rarely buy a card and then as soon as you receive it, you flip it for more money. That rarely happens. So usually you do have to do a little bit of patience, a little waiting. But anyway, the point is, when I was off work, I used that time of being home to really zero in on spending more quality time with my family, raising my kid, and enjoying my, the company that I had with them. Also, getting involved in these investments and getting involved with different side business things, working on my podcast, working on my TikTok channel. It's Adam Rich, by the way, if you don't know my TikTok. But anyway, that being said, though, guys, it's just, even though it was a down time, I tried to say, okay, yes, it's a little bit of a downtime. However, where are the positives? What are the net positives that come with this? Are you off work for a couple weeks? Maybe you hurt your leg or you hurt your arm and you're laid up for a little while and you can't go to work, right? Try to use that opportunity to either, maybe if you can move around, maybe you can get some stuff done around the house. Maybe you can do some studying on something that you've been really wanting to get into. Maybe you can take like a 2-week class or something on your phone that will help you get certified in something so you can then learn to do something that you really like and possibly get paid for it down the road. You'd never know. And I don't know all the answers with every little thing. All I'm trying to say is, guys, when something happens, don't just bite it and say, oh, this sucks, but I guess we got to deal with it. The great ones, the champions of anything, Find a way to use adversity and capitalize on it as a strength, right? If you go through adversity, it sharpens you, it refines you, and it makes you better. And so that's all I'm trying to say is just instead of looking at things from only a negative lens, like, oh man, COVID's here, this sucks, we can't have people get togethers, we can't have barbecues, we can't do this. Yeah, you're right. All of that is true. But there are positives that come with it. There has been for me, and I'm not just because I'm so lucky, it's because I constantly look for positives in everything. You know, like, even say me and my wife get into an argument. Well, obviously nobody likes fighting with their spouse, but whenever we get into some little spat, thank God it's never been anything major, but say we get into something little, well, usually that little argument gives you it sparks something in your mind to be like, look, was I wrong? What did I do? And if you are wrong, if you find that you're wrong and you did something wrong or you shouldn't have, it gives you an opportunity to rethink what you're doing, that you might be doing it more often, that you're doing something wrong often enough to cause a problem. Or maybe there's an issue that, you know, it's just a communication issue, and it then gives you an opportunity for you and your spouse to kind of talk that out and get on the same page. So you don't want to look at everything as it's just bad, it's just negative, it's just awful, I wish it didn't happen. No, understand that everything is going to happen, good, bad, everything in between. Your job, if you want to keep your sanity and learn to be a champion during those moments, is to find, even during the bad, find what's good, find the opportunity, and capitalize on it. That's all, guys. I love you so much, and I thank you for listening. I hope that this was helpful to somebody out there. I know with everything going on in the world today, it's a messed up time. It's a very negative time, especially if you watch any of the news networks, mainstream media. It's awful right now, the things that they're saying. But anyhow, that being said, guys, keep your head on straight. Focus on finding the good, finding the positive, because it's definitely there if you look for it. And just keep the right attitude, even when things are bad. Find the opportunities and capitalize on them. That's all I got, guys. If you want to get a hold of me, please do through the Anchor app. You can leave me a voice message on Twitter. It's Really Rich Adam. On Instagram, it's Really Rich Podcast or AJM Rich. On LinkedIn, it's Adam Rich, founder and host of the Really Rich Podcast. On Snapchat and YouTube, it's Really Rich. And on TikTok, this is where I'm at the most. TikTok, it's Adam Rich. No apostrophe, all lowercase, no spaces, just it's Adam Rich. ITS Adam Rich. So I love you guys, and I thank you again for listening, and I will talk to you soon, all right? Peace. I'm out of here.